welcome to Friday Facts number 404, Frustration Not Found, and I have my frustrating friend. How you doing, Mojo?
Hello. I thought the frustration wasn't found for me either.
No, we found you. We also found out you're half asleep because it's pre-9 a.m. on a Saturday for a Friday Facts.
My cup of coffee.
You
I mean, you wanted to do it early.
You got my cup of coffee. Yes, okay. All
I'm
right.
still sick, you know.
Yeah. We're putting in excuses now. All right. So we have a Spidertron RTS tool, which is an improvement. I would say an improvement. So the current remote sort of sucks. You can...
Yeah, it's functional, but barely.
Yeah, and basically, if you want to have a group of Spidertrons sort of all follow together, the best way to use the remote is aim all the spiders to follow a single spider, which is fine as long as that spider doesn't die.
Yes.
If it does, then...
The problem is, if it's a combat spider, then it's usually leading the group.
Yeah, because they're always 1 or 2 steps behind. So it's like the leader spider needs to have all shields and all power and no offenses and no repairs and no nothing else, and then everybody else has all the gear. Yeah.
Well.
So they've changed the tool. Rather than it being a spider control tool, it's now an RTS tool, which will let you left-click and drag to select Spidertrons, shift left-click to drag to add more Spidertrons to the group, control left-click and drag to remove them from the selected group, so all normal RTS commands, right-click to send them, and then shift right-click to queue movement, which means that, yes, you can have one remote and very, very quickly swap between groups of spiders. It's activated automatically, so you don't have to go and craft a remote with Alt plus A. And left click to command, right click to move, and you're pretty much good to go. Anybody who's played an RTS will pick this up instantly. They do mention the RTS tool remembers the last selection of Spidertrons, so pressing Alt plus A again will have the previous group of Spidertrons already selected. Other details will that the remember section is per surface. So if you command some spiders on Vulcananus and then come back to Narvis, the Alt-A will pre-select the last spiders we're using on Narvis, which is nice.
That is very nice. It's nice that it doesn't pre-select the ones from Vulcananus.
Yeah, because telling them to drive, their way all the way across to, Narvis could lead to an issue or two. Yeah.
I mean, it could lead to an issue or two, but at the same time, the image of spiders hanging onto the side of a space platform is entertaining.
Gotta admit, it is.
Yeah.
You can also save selections of the quick bar so you can control your favorite groups of pals at a moment's notice, which is also handy, so we can put them straight on the toolbar and swap them around. Also, I noticed the numbers, so like 1 for 1 spider, 3 for 3 spiders, 5 for 5 spiders. It's cool. It's not colored. I don't know why it's not colored.
No, we're probably not going to get the luxury of color, at least until a mod does it.
Yeah, I sort of expect it would, like, the little top right-hand corner normally is colored for the color of the spider, and I assume it would just auto-color according to the group, if they all happen to be one color. Yeah.
There's potentially a pain of logic trying to figure that out, because imagine if you have a whole rainbow of colors of Spidertron.
Then you just default to white. That would be the answer. Like, if all one color...
band of rainbow.
No. If all one color, then equal one color. If several different colors, then default white. All right. Simple.
Yeah. Simples.
And then they added, they upgraded the Pipet Tool. Anyone who's played Factorio for long enough, or actually at the moment I'm playing Works of Resource Soviet Republic, and even though it doesn't have it does have a Pipet Tool and people don't use it, I put it on my hotbar, and now I use it for everything. I don't look through the menus because I'm just used to using Pipet Tools in every game, and I get really frustrated when they don't actually have them. They upgraded it. So they say, once using a Pipet on belts and machines and stuff, you start trying to apply it everywhere. Of course, Pipet only works for entities, but we made a mistake of trying to Pipet recipe slots and tiles and things so many times. And it started to affect us with the notion, am I out of touch? No, it's the game that's wrong. So with the power program, we made the Pipet tool work in more places. So now you can do it on recipe slots, logistics slots, inventory slots, all the slots, which is nice.
It's interesting. I never really thought of that as being a thing that needed to be done.
No, I didn't either, but placeable tiles like concrete, landfill, foundations.
Tiles is nice. Tiles has been something that's very much been missing.
Well, it was one of those things. Like if you had concrete on the ground, the only way you could pick up concrete or brick or anything was actually having some tiles in your hand to then hover over the area and right click. And if you didn't have any of them, you would have to, and it only applies if you turned on the settings in the game to allow you to put ghost items on your hotbar, then you could put in like ghost concrete or ghost brick or whatever and not have any on you and then start picking up the stuff on the ground, which was frustrating. And now I can do it with the Pipet Tool. My hotbar has become more useless, which probably means it's going to be used for just nothing but Spidertrons. Because I don't really use the hotbar as is. I just pipette everything. And now you can also pipette water and lava and oil ocean, which is the oil from the Fulgora map.
Fungolia map.
Yep.
The electric planet.
Yep, which just needs a offshore pump. Yeah, to pump out the oil. And you can also do it on recipe out slots, which again means, in this example, the repair pack. Which, yeah, repair pack's something else I don't have on the hotbar.
Yeah, I mean, bots deal with that, not me.
Yeah, pretty much my answer is if it's broken, I'll replace it if it dies.
Yeah.
Or a bot will get around to fixing it once I have bots.
A bot will get to it eventually.
Yeah, pretty much. And they ask you...
Can't help but notice also in
Yep.
the video, when it finished hovering over the offshore pump, a whole lot of red squares come up.
Yeah, they changed the graphic. I mentioned that. So when we do the water, so the rear, it needs the rear 6 tiles. So 2 deep,
Yeah.
one above, one below.
Shows the footprint that it needs.
Yeah. They're marked in clear red now, but also means if they're on foundations, if they're on landfill, technically you can remove that landfill. So I'm imagining if you pick that up and it has those red squares, you could hold the right click to remove the landfill and go back to water and put down the offshore pump. And they're red because this is on real land, which you can't unlandfill.
I forgot about the unlandfilling stuff, the deconstructing landfill.
I wonder now if that means a C map is the most ultimate map, because then you can build anything you want anywhere. You're going to want maps with big giant lakes, so that way you can literally build whatever you want, wherever you want. Because you can always unlandfill.
Gotta make lakeside nuclear better.
Oh, yeah. Rather having...
Which FFF had the removable landfill in it?
Force Blueprint? Force Paste? Force...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think that had the landfill.
There's been so many things that just been starting to fall out of my brain.
They're all in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And then we have easier blueprint grid adjustments. So when trying to get that perfect alignment of blueprints, hard to know what numbers you need for the grid position and absolute offsets. And I've dealt with this. I've dealt with this trying to make grid aligned blueprints and also blueprints that stamp over themselves for upgrading. Like my oil refinery one is, you just stamp level 1, level 2, level 3, and it auto upgrades over time. But now they've added a way for easily offsetting that, because previously I would have to go into the blueprint and I'd put in some numbers that I guessed were correct for the blueprint, and then have to change the offsets a couple of tiles at a time until I got the exact number I was looking for. But they decided it was far too hard. So now when you're holding the blueprint in your hand, you can hold shift and the arrow keys to adjust the grid position or the absolute grid offset position. Most people want the grid position, not the absolute grid, because that's referring to the absolute Factorio 32 by 32 chunk aligned grids.
Yeah, that one worries me. Because the whole idea of having an absolute grid position means that it's always in that same place in space, no matter what the game is, and and throughout all games. Whereas now you can just shuffle it around however you feel like.
So the reason you're worried about that is you have wonderful rail blueprints. We've mentioned them many times now. Yep. And they are perfectly aligned to the grid. Now, if somebody starts off with building natural train tracks before, using a blueprint to make sure it's grid aligned, there is a chance that previously, if you use your blueprints, you'd end up ripping up the original rails or doing some sort of weird merge between the old system and the new system. And then...
Yeah, because they may not necessarily line up.
Yeah. And you just accept that there's this little weird merge here and then that's fine, or you'd rip everything up and make sure it's all grid aligned. And what you're worried about is somebody's going to take your grid align blueprints and move them all left 3 tiles and up 2 tiles to make sure it lines up with what they've built on their map existingly, which means all their blueprints are going to line up with their blueprints. But if somebody else comes on and goes, they're Mojo's RAL, blueprints, and starts pasting them somewhere else, because yours are grid aligned, you can start in 2 different areas of the map, and they'll always line up with one another.
Yeah.
Assuming that people are on the same universal grid, and somebody hasn't gone up left 3 tiles, 4 tiles,
Someone hasn't dickered around with the absolute position.
Yeah.
It's also, because it's a book, it's going to affect each individual, like it's going to only affect that one individual blueprint. So it means that like the straight track will now be offset, but the curves won't be.
Yeah, so you got to go through and change them
Straights
for
won't align the
every
curve.
single one of them, which would be
Yes.
frustrating and annoying. And if you're getting somebody's absolutely aligned blueprints, just make whatever you've built currently line up with their absolutes. Trust me, it's going to save you hell in the long run. But yes, I'm willing to bet that we're both going to see a comment somewhere in the future where somebody's like, I have these blueprints, they don't line up, blah, 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 blah. I got a fresh copy, they don't line up still. And the answer is going to be because they changed the settings, and bad luck.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who make blueprints that are on absolute grid, they're going to run into that problem.
Yeah, look, absolute grid or just a grid offset really doesn't matter. I think the only time the absolute matters is, well, the absolute probably.
The rail blueprints are the ones that it matters. Most of the time, it doesn't actually matter, because like for things like mining, I have like a little 2x3 for mining drills with a belt coming out of it, and that one is relative.
Yeah, so that way you can just run it down in long sections and it just pastes in.
And it snaps to itself as long as you're holding down the mouse button.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna be too much of an issue. It's nice that they've added it, because I gotta admit, like, trying to make them all aligned to start with was frustrating. But again, I don't do a lot of making sure blueprints are absolute grid aligned. You know.
Yeah.
Aligning to themselves is something I do fairly regularly, but aligning to the absolute grid, I never care.
It feels like the kind of thing that would have made more sense within the editor, not within the game itself.
What do you mean within the editor?
So within the blueprint editor.
Maybe.
It's also possible that I am misunderstanding it, and that this isn't actually just editing the blueprint live.
Well, that's the other thing. The question is, does it? If you have a copy from the blueprint library, it's going to update the blueprint library. But if you're using a book, it's going to only update that one blueprint from the book. So if you happen to have a rail book blueprint with, I don't know, what do you got, like 20 or 30 different rail blueprints?
Like 16 or something.
Yeah, it's only going to adjust one of them, not all of them.
Well, this is just editing a blueprint, so it'll always only affect one. It never affects the whole book.
No, but it's going to affect. It's going to affect just that one. If you haven't taken the blueprint book and put it in your inventory, then you're using the one in the library. And is that from your personal library or from the game blueprint library? Because that's the other thing. Because people might have a separate copy in the game blueprint library that they've put their personal library, which is then not aligned to what you've just updated in the game blueprint library. Because we've had that problem before where people have made a copy of something and then adjusted a copy slightly and then not updated it with the universal copy for everybody else. So yeah, blueprint sharing is weird and great.
It is weird
and problematic all at the same time. So that's pretty much it for the Friday Facts. But
yeah, that's it. There's not much to it.
Mojo, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because it's a short Friday Facts, so we're gonna have to extend it by adding in some more stuff. So, Mojo, you've played Satisfactory, I assume. I know you have.
Yes.
You've played, I don't know, Desynced?
Yeah. I actually started playing that again recently.
They've had a couple of updates. It's not a bad little game.
Yeah. There's a lot of POIs in it now.
Yes, there are. So you've played lots of other factory genre games. Okay, I'm not going to go through and name them all, but we've both played a whole bunch of them. Now, one thing that Update 2 for Factorio seem to be doing is killing off existing mods. So in Factorio, if you tell a smelter to make a piece of iron plate, you don't have any sort of rate calculation on that smelter to how quickly it makes an iron plate. An iron plate's like 3.2 seconds because numbers are hard.
Well, technically, you don't tell smelters to smelt plate in
Okay,
Factorio.
okay. Take an assembler. Okay, let's go with an assembler. A tier 1 assembler is going to make a gear which takes half a second, but the assembly machine runs at 0.5 crafting speed, which means you're making 1 gear per 1 second. Yep.
Yes, it doesn't have any direct calculation associated with it.
Correct, and it doesn't give the player any feedback in regards to those calculations.
Not like Desynced or Captain of Industry, which gives you the entire chain and how much of each machine you need.
Every other game.
Every other game now even tells you this now.
Yeah, and I'm liking it back to Satisfactory, which when you set a recipe, it tells you what you need on your input per minute and what you're going to get on your output per minute. And it's displayed in the GUI for that particular assembler, foundry, whatever it happens to be. And I'm wondering, is that Factorio's next mod kill? Are they going to add something like I've used it for years now. I've used Max Rate Calculator because I can just swipe over a building or 20 buildings and get how much input I need per second, how much output I need per second. Because a tier 1 assembler, that's pretty easy because it's a half a second crafting speed. But then a tier 2 is 0.75, which is just annoying. And then
just a little bit.
It's
kind of funny because Factorio was the first of its kind, but it's also the only one which doesn't have that feature.
It is. Like, it was missing from Tectonica when Tectonica released. And we spent an awful lot of time trying to get the stats, and we even spoke to a couple of the devs to get the stats on, like, belt speed and inserter speed and blah, 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 blah. And even the devs had the wrong numbers. Right? We then did tests in game to confirm what the devs said, and the devs were wrong. The belt speeds moved at a different speed to what the dev said it did. Also, they didn't do the thing that Factorio added after a couple of years where things slid back and forth on a belt to make room. So you could actually max out a belt. That was finally fixed. Actually, it's fixed now. I think it was fixed in the previous update, the one before. But those sorts of things to work out what, a belt rate is per second or per minute or whatever you want to calculate on. And yeah, Factorio doesn't have that. Every other game has. Well,
maybe we can only hope.
That's my prediction. My prediction is going to be that for a future Friday Facts. I don't know which Friday Facts.
And it's the second thing coming after Aliens. Is your prediction
after Biters. Yeah, it's going to be Biters. Biters first. And then we're like, yeah, we killed another mod. We're now going to actually, in the assembler GUI, actually have a crafting rate. Because we've seen a number of assembler / foundry / whatever GUIs already in the lead up to 2.0. Like, even right here, there's the one making the repair packs. It doesn't have any details on the crafting speed, the requirements per minute, per second to feed the machine. Inserters would be the same. Like, how fast does an inserter move? I know I can get researchers to upgrade my inserters so they move more items at once, but I don't know what the base speed is, so I don't know what a faster speed is. All right?
Oh, yeah, you got to look up the wiki page for that.
You've got to, Factorio cheat sheet is where most people go, but yes, you need to work out. Yeah, you need to work out what your pickup rate is and whether you pick up from belt or a chest because it matters, and then you need to work out what the rotation rate of the inserter is, which is listed on the inserter, and then you need to know what the stack size bonus is, whether it picks up 1 item, 2 items, or 3 items, and then that's different if it's going to be a new pile sorter or the old stack sorter, because they're going to have different rates as well. And then again, it really depends on whether you're picking up from belt or chest or assembler or a train or all these different factors change the calculations. So I think a base speed would be handy. I know there's...
In items, not angle.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing.
That's the other thing too. Because I thought of the wiki because that's how I used to do it before the cheat sheet was a thing. And you have to do this really... I remember it being convoluted. It's actually not that bad. You'd have to turn it into an items per second, and that varied depending on whether it was inventory to inventory, like machine to chest or machine to belt.
Well, it depends because yellow inserter has a rotational speed, and then a blue inserter has a faster rotational speed. A red inserter has a slower rotational speed than a blue inserter, but a faster than a yellow inserter. A burner inserter has an even slower rotational speed. A stack inserter has the same rotational speed as a blue inserter, but it moves more items per swing, so it therefore has a different count. Yeah.
27 or 29 items per second or something, chest to chest.
22 and a half.
It sounds a little low.
Maybe that's belt.
Might be belt.
Belt sounds about right. 22 and a half. Yeah, it would be belt. Yeah, but I predict that that's going to be another thing they're going to kill, because yeah, it is the only game in the genre that I can think of now that doesn't have those sort of stats, especially in the assemblers. Just on the assemblers would make such a big difference, because a tier 3 assembler has a crafting speed of what, Mojo?
Yes.
Pretty sure it's 1.25.
It's 1.25.
Yeah.
0.75, 0.75, 1.25.
Yeah.
I haven't actually got the cheat sheet open yet. Looking for the inserter one.
He's trying to open it right now. But yeah, it's 3 different, and they're not like the tier 1 assembler is the easiest one to work out because it's 0.5. It's easily divisible by 1. Yeah, whereas everything else is a pain in the ass. So yeah, I'm curious. Like even Dyson Sphere has ins and outs and rates per second, rates per minute. And they have a assembler speed of 0.75, 0.75, 1, and then 1.5. So they have different numbers again for, not round numbers for their assemblers, but they still have the ins and the outs per second. So yeah, there you go. Throw that in there. All right, but yeah, that's Friday Facts 404. A quiet one, a short one. Yeah. We found the Friday Facts.
27.69. Michelle found it.
Yeah, for chest to chest. Yeah, I'm willing to bet it's 22 and a half. Or maybe it's higher than that, but 22 and a half is what you can count on for a belt to something. Anyway, I'm going to call it here for this Friday Facts. We'll see you next week for Biters. This is my prediction, and you, Mojo?
I reckon we're going to get an update on some kind of method or process that we currently are not allowed to do.
Okay, sure.
Just another short, sweet one.
Just
make sure that we're going to get another planet or something.
Make sure it's nice and broad. That way, there's a good chance you're going to actually hit something. I like it.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll leave it there. As always, thank you for watching. Do hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week for Friday Facts 405. All right, we're out. Bye.
Bye-bye.